Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to RHD Outdoors. A quick view of my stats on YouTube showed that the preliminary setup for this Titan 13.5 was trending pretty high. So there's a lot of people interested in it. It was about my my third most watched video. So I've had this kayak for 1 year now, so I'm going to go ahead and do a 1-year review on it and pretty much tell you the things that I changed from the initial setup to where things worked a lot better. You know, I changed some things, I took some things off, so we're going to go ahead and start with our 1-year review. I'm not going to go into what I have here in the storage because it's the exact same thing. The battery pack is the exact same. I got a little cheat sheet here. Let me see here. We're going to start with the trailer. All right. The wood bunks and the platform that I made for this kayak have held up very, very nicely, and I've had no problems with those whatsoever. The trailer, though, I did make one addition, which is a tongue jack for the front, because when you haul it around by that handle, it gets pretty heavy after a little while. So I added a tongue jack on there. And one thing that I found out about this trailer, it is a Malone Microsport trailer. I thought that a trailer that was built to haul kayaks, which are essentially boats, was made to go into the water. This trailer is not made to go into the water especially the way it comes from the factory, because as you can see here, it's got brand new hubs on it, and I put bearing buddies on it. Since I put those bearing buddies on it, I haven't put it in the water again. But the reason I had to put those new hubs on there is because they had this big chrome cap on top of this wheel, and it wasn't watertight at all, and there was an exposed bearing on the other side of that. So another thing is that the metal that this trailer is made out of is not meant to go into the water either. I think I put this thing in the water every weekend or every other weekend for about 2 months, and this trailer was showing the signs that a normal boat trailer would show after about 7 or 8 years of use. I mean, it started rusting fast. It is not made to go in the water whatsoever. So what I wound up having to do was just pull up to where I wanted to fish, put the landing gear down, and take the kayak off using the landing gear, because putting this trailer in the water is a bad idea. I'm not really sure why they would make a boat trailer that wasn't meant to go into the water, but they did. Maybe since it's kayaks, they figured, you know, you just throw it on your shoulder and throw the kayak in the water. Cut these bars off here just so I wouldn't hit my legs on them every time I walked around the kayak. All right, the next thing, the native sidekick. In my other video, I had the rod holders on here. I took them off. They're absolutely useless. You can't put any way that you put 2 rods there, your reels are just going to be piled on top of each other, or hanging down here, or in the way, or back here. And the rods, they're supposed to go into those tubes there, and it just doesn't work. I mean, I guess it was a good idea, but in practicality and in use, it just doesn't work. All right, the next thing is the paddle. In the previous video, I had my paddle, which is now in 2 pieces stored back here on this side, this side. On my previous video, I had a little holder right here, and I had the paddle coming across here and resting right here. I did that a couple of times out in the marsh, and I pretty much found out that this kayak, even as big as it is, it really doesn't draft a whole bunch of water, and I really didn't even need it. So I can sneak around in the marsh just fine with just my propel drive. And if I do get too skinny, all I do is go back there and I unhook my paddle, stick it together, and I can stand up and pull around and get around in the marsh just fine. All right, my another addition was I had this anchor trolley in the first video. I found out that 2 anchor trolleys are better than 1. So I have an anchor trolley on this side here too. So you never know what direction the wind's going to be blowing from. So just have one. I mean, a kayak this big, just have one on both sides. I've used both of them regularly, and they're a lifesaver. So all right, let me see here. All right, the ratchet straps. The ratchet straps are what I use to provide the downward hold for this kayak, to where I'm going down the road, it doesn't try to bounce up and fly off onto the highway. What I did was I took a regular set of ratchet straps, and before I had the full tag end going out another 5 feet, and I just wrapped them around these tubes here. That was kind of impractical because I was always wrapping and unwrapping and unwrapping. And the next thing I did was I took those hooks off and I added these stainless steel carboners. And this way, instead of putting the hook on there and then putting the ratchet strap over and then going to that side and figuring out that this hook had fallen off, they won't fall off anymore because that carboner's hooked in there, and that makes it way easier. And I also cut off the tag and just melted the end to where I don't have a whole bunch of stuff flapping around, since I don't have the bars anymore to wrap that stuff around. All right, the depth finder. Now this is the exact same depth finder. It is a Lowrance hook, I think it's a hook 2.5 with triple shot, and it's a side scan sonar. I've had absolutely no problems with this depth finder whatsoever. And as a matter of fact, the side scan is so good that when I pass like a crab buoy in the water, I can see the crab pot underwater, and I can see it in such detail that I can see the mesh on the crab pot that's underneath the water. So very, very happy with that. And this switchblade, Yak Attack switchblade, has held up very nicely. I've had no problems out of it whatsoever. I've had no problems with the transducer hanging over the side, as in you know, not being able to get the side scan, or it running into stuff, or it being creating too much drag or whatever. I mean, absolutely no problem whatsoever out of this setup. So that's a really good setup. All right, now the next thing was I upgraded to the next level design, billet aluminum handle. Now I've got an extra handle, plastic handle, inside my storage there in case my other plastic handle broke. But ever since I got this thing, I haven't had to worry about this thing breaking whatsoever. And with this, it's actually this piece here and then this piece. This piece here is a spacer. You can order as many spacers as you want to get this thing as high as you want. You know, once you get a certain height, you know, it kind of becomes wobbly. I've seen it on other people's YouTube videos. It kind of becomes wobbly, but I've only got one spacer, and that brings it up high enough to where I don't have to lean over to turn this boat. And what I also did was I went from the original native steering line to this heavier tan steering line. I think this stuff's made by Hobie, but man, you can crank on this thing as much as you want, and you will not have to worry about it whatsoever. You don't have to worry about the line breaking. You don't have to worry about the handle breaking. So with this boat, that handle and an upgraded steering line is a must. I mean, they make the kits from Burley Pro. You can do that. They just came out with a Burley Pro kit for native also. So I really don't like them. They kind of squat, and they're as far down as the original handle. So I like this handle being up high, so I don't have to crane my body over to the left to turn the boat. All right, the wheels here. You can probably tell already that these are C-Tug wheels. The original Native Sidekick wheels are rubber with inner tubes. And as any tire that has an inner tube in it does, I had problems with them going flat. This one here would go flat all the time. And it got so bad that it was to the point to where I would have to air it up before I took the kayak off of the trailer. So, and also that thing was made out of a material that corroded. So the salt water and stuff, it grew like a white powder on it, and it was just kind of nasty, and you'd have to take the cap off and on and off and on and off and on. That wears the cap down. Water goes into the valve, destroys the valve, especially salt water goes into the valve, destroys the valve, and pretty much the tube deflates, and you're stuck at the boat ramp with a really heavy kayak that you can't pull out of the water. And that's a bad thing. I've actually done that a couple times, and it actually puts you in a pickle, especially if you're in a boat ramp where there's people waiting to go in and out. So definitely not good. All right, let me see here. All right, rod holders. I had those Ram 2008 rod holders, and what those were they have a ball like this, the Ram ball, and then there's a tube. You can see in my reference my other video, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Basically, it's a tube that comes down here and screws on. Actually, let me show you exactly what they look like. I got one here on sheephead 1. That's exactly what they look like right there. That was actually one of the ones that was off of my Titan. And as you can see, you can push them down. So once these things are out in the weather and in the elements for so long, they begin to wear. The rubber wears, the plastic wears. I started having trouble with the rods. I'd turn around and like this one would be laying down this way, this one would be laying that way. And especially if you have a heavy rod too. If I go out and I'm looking for something big, I have a Penn 6000 series rod and reel back there that thing, even brand new, wouldn't hold up for 10 minutes. I'd look back here and it'd be laying right here on the wheels, and I'd be like, oh my God, I'm glad it didn't fall in the water. Glad I had it lashed down. So I kind of bit the bullet, went to Everything Kayak, got these Yak Attack Omega rod holders, and haven't looked back since. These things will handle the weight of any rod that you can put in them, and they're adjustable so many different ways, and they have the locking system built into them. Before, with the tubes, basically what I had was I had a bungee cord that I could wrap around the reel, and you know, that's kind of you know, handyman makeshift stuff. So these actually have the locking mechanism built in, so if you flip or if you catch a tree going up underneath a tree in the marsh or something like that, it isn't going to yank your rod out. All right, my bottom setup is pretty much the exact same. I carry 2 tackle boxes on the bottom, 2 tackle boxes in the back. I carry my fish stick over there, my measuring stick over there. I got my anchor right here, except whenever you go looking for yak anchors, you'll find these anchors like this. These, I call them claw anchors. The little one will not hold this kayak. You have to get the big claw anchor. The big claw anchor is heavy enough to where if you're in a current, it will actually go down there and grab, to where that little one, where I could use it for my my Moken or my little Heritage, and it would work just fine. This kayak, with the weight and with the taller profile, it the wind catches it and it'll drag that little anchor all over the place. So I still got my little catfish grabber. Now sometimes I carry a live well back here too, with a cast net in it, and that fits perfectly right here. And I got my fish stick right here. I used to have this hooked onto that, and it was impractical. So I've got that there, and then my small one here, my big one on this side, and these here, I used to keep them in my NRS Chinook, but they're a little bit too tall. So instead of keeping them in the Chinook, I keep them here now, and I keep a smaller pair in my life jacket. Now this thing right here I showed you last time, this thing is freaking awesome. I have caught so many, you can tell by how tore up this is, how many fish mouths that this thing has been in. But like if I'm cork fishing or whatever, and I got 2 corks that go down at the same time, I can catch one fish, throw them on here, pop it over the side. And this is something that I made, and it has paid dividends in the way it works, because it is very, very, very useful. And I think I'm gonna make another one of these for Sheephead 1 over there, for playing around in the marsh. One thing that really freaking annoys me, there aren't many things that annoy me about this actual kayak itself. The actual boat itself, I pretty much love. I love it as much as I did the first day I bought it. But one thing that annoys me about this is these little clips right here. Those things there catch your net every single time. I don't care where your net is, from here to here, your net will find those hooks. If you got a large mesh net, your net will find those hooks every single time. And the reason why I use a large mesh net, and I've actually switched to a smaller mesh net so I don't destroy the tails on fish I'm going to release. But the reason why I used a large mesh net was because I could bring fish on board without bringing a whole bunch of water on board and getting my legs and my shoes wet and stuff like that. But a large mesh net catches those things every time. Man, I can't if you watch my videos, you'll see me catch my net on those things like 4 or 5 times every video, and that's really crazy. So all right guys, I saved the best for last, and I feel some kind of way about these things. When I first got them and you saw me put these down, operate them in my initial setup video, I was standing about here. And I'm very sad to say, but that's about the maximum effective range of that freaking lanyard. And these things here, in that setup video, I said that they were Divas, and I had no idea how much of Divas that these things were, because now that I've had them for a year and been out numerous times with them in tandem and just one on the back of Sheephead 1, I've got a little bracket back there too for going up into the marsh. For the money that they charge for these things, they're absolute garbage. And I really hate to say that, because if you buy a micro anchor, the spike, and a battery pack, you've spent $1,000. So that's $2,000 right there on the back of this kayak. That they're the most unreliable piece of fishing gear that I have, and I'll tell you why. All right, the reasons why these things piss me off so bad. The idea of these things and what they're supposed to do, I mean, is absolutely terrific. With how much they weigh, for a boat like this is pretty much negligible. Like I said, the idea of them, if they actually function, absolutely fantastic, and an excellent piece of fishing gear if they actually worked. And that's the caveat, is if they actually work. After a year of hard fishing with these things, I have a love-hate relationship with them, and it's mostly hate. And this is why. If you have one micro anchor, and I know this because I use one micro anchor on Sheephead 1 over there. So if you have one micro anchor, you have about a 95% chance that that micro anchor will obey the lanyard, obey the boat switch, the one with the blue buttons, or I found that the actual Sea Monster app that you can get on your phone controls these things better than the lanyard or the boat switch. And it's probably because your cell phone has got a larger power signal. These things here, I believe the lanyard is RF frequency, and the Sea Monster app is Bluetooth. So they operate off of Bluetooth a lot better than they operate on the RF frequency. Now, the range on those lanyards are laughable. I've come back here, operated both of them, had them both go down, both go up, go out on the water, just come forward this much and have one not respond whatsoever. Have to take my hand, put it back here, hit it again, and then it would operate. But by that time, one of them was already down. So this one here would be already in the ground. You'd operate that one, this one here would go down, and then this one here thinks that you were giving it a signal to go deeper. So this one here would drive itself another 2 feet into the mud, while this one here is only like maybe a foot and like maybe half a foot into the mud. And it actually works in reverse too. If they actually listen to you and both go down at the same time, and then you double click the buttons to have them come up, a lot of the times only one of them will come up and the other one will stay down. So you'll come back here and double click it again. This one here starts going crazy, trying to kick the pole up out of the back of the out of the top of the micro anchor, and while this one here is just going up normally. A big hassle. I've spent a lot of time in the back of this kayak. I've had to move my tackle box, my cooler up front, put my seat down, turn around and mess with these things, pull the battery packs out, reset them. This micro power pole right here is actually broken. It broke today when I went to the marsh. I have no idea what's wrong with it. I went out, put the battery pack in, tried to do a calibration on it. Let me see if this one will calibrate. Okay, this procedure that I'm doing right now is what I tried to do with this power pole this morning. When I hit those two buttons, it did absolutely nothing whatsoever. And I tried to hit the up button, nothing happened. I hit the down button and it went down a little bit. I'm like, okay, well, it doesn't want to calibrate. As long as it actually works and goes down and up, then that should be fine. So I went into the front of my boat, got on my trolling motor, went into the marsh. I went about 15 feet, and then I noticed that I wasn't moving anymore. And I was like, what's going on? So I figured I had hit something underwater, a log or something that was jamming on the bottom of a boat. So I turn around, and this micro anchor is about halfway down, and it's driving into the ground 6 inches at a time. 6 inches at a time, until it went all the way down. So I'm like, oh my goodness. So I go to the back of the boat, hit the up button, nothing happens. Hit the down button, nothing happens. Take the battery pack off, put it back in, press the buttons, nothing happens. So I had to yank that whole spike out of the back of this thing inch by inch, and this thing has got a good grip, believe me. I had to yank that thing out of there inch by inch while I was trying to creep into the marsh and cast for some redfish. So that one there has got to go in for repair warranty. This one here has come back on repair warranty. So in 2 years, or in 1 year, I've had to send both of these in one time to get repaired or replaced. And that's, I mean, that's absolutely unacceptable for the money that they ask for these things. And that is my greatest disappointment about this kayak, about this setup. It's not the kayak, about this setup, is that these micro power poles don't work. And if I knew then what I knew now, I probably wouldn't have bought these things, because they're absolute garbage. But anyway, guys, railed on the power poles. I think that's pretty much about it. All the changes that I've made on this kayak, everything else is pretty much the same. Very, very happy with it overall. Native has made a good product with this thing, especially for bigger guys like me. It's very, very stable. If you're looking to buy one of these and you're a bigger guy and you like to carry a lot of gear, I would say absolutely go ahead and get it. I mean, it is worth, for me, it has been worth every penny out on the water. You'll have to do a little bit more to haul it around. It is a lot heavier than a normal kayak, and you're not going to throw it on your shoulder. But if you're a bigger guy, like I said, and you like to haul a bunch of stuff around, this is a good kayak for you. So that's going to go ahead and end the video, and thank y'all for watching. Until next time, we'll see you on the water.